Marvel's Inhumans have never lacked powerful characters, but some members simply disappeared as the universe moved forward. One storyline ended, one roster changed, and characters who once played important roles were quietly pushed aside. Some had unique powers, royal connections, or deep ties to Adeline, yet eventually became little more than forgotten names in Marvel history. They didn't all receive dramatic endings, they were simply left behind as new stories took priority. Over time, even dedicated fans stopped hearing from them. But how do Inhumans vanish from continuity so completely? Here are 10 Inhumans characters that vanished from Marvel continuity. At number 10 is Inferno, also known as Dante Pertuz. Created by Charles Soule and Joe Madureira in Inhuman Issue 1 in 2014, Dante was handpicked by editorial as the ultimate poster boy for the Terrigen Cloud Awakening. Armed with devastating bioorganic plasma generation, he received heavy corporate marketing as Marvel's shiny new pyrokinetic analog to the X-Men's Human Torch. While he maintained a brief secondary stint in the 2017 Secret Warriors run, the moment the corporate strategy pivoted back to mutants, Inferno was sidelined. Despite surviving the brutal 2018 death of the Inhumans culling, he was casually written out of active rosters with zero fanfare. Dante represented the raw, blue-collar potential of ordinary humans, suddenly thrust into a global superpower shift, boasting a highly distinct visual design and deep emotional stakes. Today, he exists entirely in comic book limbo, a literal monument to a 5-year publishing experiment that Marvel upper management desperately wishes they never happened to launch. At number 9 is Iso, also known as Xiao Chen. Debuting in Inhuman Issue 4 in 2014 by Charles Soule and Ryan Stegman, Xiao Yi wielded sophisticated pressure manipulation abilities. This incredible power set prompted the editorial board to quickly crown her as the moral compass and administrative voice for a burgeoning generation of civilian NuHumans. However, as the highly publicized Disney and Fox corporate merger eventually paved the way for mutant reintegration, her high-profile ascension was abruptly halted by changing publishing priorities. Bypassing a gruesome fate in the bloody death of the Inhumans massacre, she was instead demoted to a silent decorative fixture before slipping entirely out of active circulation across modern publishing lines. Xiao Yi served a vital structural function by directly connecting cloaked royal traditions with terrified civilian outsiders during a deeply chaotic era. Her swift evaporation brutally underscores the cynical, highly disposable nature of corporate intellectual property, designed strictly to plug licensing gaps rather than sustain long-term narratives. At number 8 is Flint, also known by his birth name Jason. Introduced by Charles Soule and Joe Madureira in Inhuman Issue 3 in 2014, Jason utilized geokinetic abilities to shape stone. He featured a chiseled, crystalline aesthetic that was specifically designed to mirror classic mutant powerhouses from the legendary X-Men franchise. The editorial office heavily showcased Flint as a foundational anchor for the primary monthly title during the absolute height of their ambitious publishing push. But when corporate priorities abruptly pivoted following shifting media strategies, his compelling coming-of-age trajectory was completely severed. Left crystallizing on a mysterious Inhuman sky spear out in space during a permanently unresolved cliffhanger, Flint tragically missed out entirely on all subsequent publishing initiatives. His total exclusion from contemporary storytelling demonstrates a deliberate, calculated institutional amnesia, favoring the absolute erasure of entire character arcs over the creative challenge of properly bridging past publishing mandates with modern narrative directions. He remains completely frozen in canon. But if you think that's bad, wait until you see who Marvel threw away next. Coming up, we've got an everyday civilian that S.H.I.E.L.D. turned into a literal living bomb, and a character who was given her own event tie-in miniseries just to be completely erased from existence for over 12 years. At number 7 is Reader, a powerful new human whose actual civilian identity remains totally unrevealed in Marvel canon. Crafted by visionary creators Charles Soule and Ryan Stegman in Inhuman Issue 4 in 2014, this sightless operative manifested reality through tactile braille perception. Reader quickly stood out as an incredibly rare, shining critical darling during an otherwise forced and deeply cynical publishing campaign. Armed with a standout solo spotlight and seemingly boundless narrative potential, this exceptional conceptual triumph was unceremoniously discarded the exact moment the editorial board pulled the plug on the entire Inhuman imprint. His highly innovative and meticulously balanced skill set ultimately failed to protect him from a sweeping, merciless administrative purge aimed squarely at burying any remnants of a failed corporate strategy. Representing absolute peak comic book design through high stakes, restrictive mechanical limitations that forced writers to think creatively, his complete and utter sidelining stands as a premier example of senseless corporate collateral damage today. At number 6 is Grid, also known by his civilian name Dinesh Deol. Sprouting from Charles Soule's free Comic Book Day Avengers preview in 2015, this deeply conflicted new human utilized electromagnetic spectrum manipulation to biomechanically control electronic data and complex machinery. The aggressive editorial team heavily leveraged his incredibly unique physiology to directly tap into modern technological anxieties during their massive corporate diversification campaign. However, as soon as administrative priorities fully abandoned the overarching intellectual property, this highly valuable asset was instantly discarded rather than integrated into existing technological syndicates like the global SHIELD network. Marrying ancient genetic structures with high-speed digital architecture offered a genuinely brilliant pathway toward contemporary narrative relevance, yet higher-ups ultimately chose total character erasure. By scrubbing Dinesh completely from the official publishing ledger, publishers strictly ensured that this highly innovative collision of biology and cyberspace remained a permanently abandoned footnote in an awkward era they desperately wanted all fans to forget forever. At number 5 is Fulmina, also known as Sylvia Prell. Conceived by Robert Rohde and Mike Del Mundo in Superior Spider-Man Team-Up issue 3 in 2013, Sylvia was an ordinary college student whose sudden terrigenesis violently transformed her into a being of pure, living electrical energy. Rather than receiving her own dedicated series, she was utilized as a recurring guest asset to strictly showcase the devastating civilian impact of the Terrigen bomb on street-level New York. But the exact second her brief storyline within the Superior Spider-Man continuity finally wrapped up, Marvel instantly hit the delete button on her existence. She never joined a mainline team book, never appeared in the background of New Adeline, and never received a single fleeting cameo elsewhere. It has been well over a decade since she was last drawn on a comic page, undeniably proving Marvel cared far more about short-term crossover shock value than actively sustaining the new humans they forcefully created. At number 4 is Sarah Garza. Debuting in Secret Avengers Volume 2, Issue 10 in 2013 by Ed Brisson and Luke Ross, Sarah was an ordinary Texan whose sudden terrigenesis resulted in violently unstable energy generation. Placed securely inside a highly specialized containment suit, the global espionage agency SHIELD briefly weaponized her as a tactical frontline asset, alongside elite operatives like Maria Hill and Phil Coulson. She perfectly represented the truly terrifying collateral damage of global Terrigen dispersal, an everyday civilian unwillingly turned into a walking living bomb. Yet, as quickly as she was purposefully introduced to explore the devastating psychological toll of the massive Inhuman awakening, she was quietly ushered completely out of the publishing spotlight and permanently forgotten. Her complete absence today stands as an incredibly stark textbook example of Marvel aggressively introducing heavy-hitting new humans for initial shock value, only to cynically abandon them entirely the exact moment their multimedia licensing strategy drastically pivoted toward reclaiming mutants. We are now entering the biggest casualties of the entire Inhuman timeline. Coming up is a 90s teen powerhouse who has been missing for 30 years, and our number 1 spot, the literal driving plot device who single-handedly broke the Avengers, only to be instantly deleted from existence. At number 3 is Devlor. Conceived by Tom Brevoort and Mike Kantarovich in Fantastic Force issue 1 in 1994, Devlor was a uniquely young Inhuman cursed with the incredible ability to physically transform into a massive, super-strong ape-like beast. Decades before the modern New Human era ever began, the powerful editorial board artificially pushed Devlor to serve as the absolute token Inhuman representative on a heavily marketed Fantastic Four spin-off team, standing awkwardly alongside legacy heavyweights like the Black Panther. but the absolute second that Fantastic Force was unceremoniously cancelled in 1996, Devlor vanished completely from existence. Marvel's deep institutional amnesia regarding this specific character is so incredibly severe that they did not even bother to utilize him as simple background fodder during the massive 2014 Inhuman resurgence. He has been totally scrubbed from active continuity for roughly 30 years, standing as the ultimate historical proof that forcing Inhumans onto diverse team books is a long-standing, completely failed corporate tradition. At number 2 is Mark Sim, also known by his hero's name Hachi. Conceived by Christopher Yost and Marcus II, in New Warriors issue 1 in 2014, this young new human absorbed intense kinetic energy and physically transformed into a massive mythological horned beast. The editorial team aggressively pushed Mark directly into the active New Warriors lineup to strictly ensure ongoing Inhuman representation on prominent ensemble books during the absolute height of the corporate franchise wars. He was specifically built to be a teenage powerhouse with massive crossover franchise potential, seamlessly bridging ancient Asian mythology with highly relatable modern superhero growing pains. But the exact second the New Warriors publishing volume definitively ended, Mark was totally scrubbed from the official publishing ledger. He was sadly never integrated into the wider Inhuman community, callously discarded as an entirely obsolete corporate asset. The precise second Marvel Comics finally stopped cynically forcing new humans onto established legacy superhero teams across their entire publishing board. At number 1 is Ulysses Cain. Created by Brian Michael Bendis and Jim Cheung in Free Comic Book Day 2016. Civil War II, this highly controversial new human possessed uniquely hyper-accurate precognitive profiling abilities. He was not just a side character, he was the literal driving plot device of Marvel's massive Civil War II publishing event, aggressively dictating the major actions of Captain Marvel and Iron Man while violently tearing the entire superhero community completely apart. He was the absolute pinnacle of Marvel, forcing Inhumans into the absolute center of the comic universe to manufacture artificial stakes. Yet, at the massive event's final climax, the editorial board simply had him abruptly ascend into an omnipotent cosmic entity and vanish completely. The incredibly pivotal character who single-handedly broke the legendary Avengers has not been seen or referenced anywhere since. Ulysses forever stands as the ultimate, undeniable monument to the entire era's deeply cynical, artificial corporate inflation, completely erased from existence overnight. These Inhumans vanished from Marvel's spotlight. Comment who deserves a return, subscribe now, and turn on notifications for more Marvel deep dives.